So I call myself a language geek, and I do have this one playlist on my channel called Lies and Propaganda, where I talk about arguments themselves. I try to look at the overall picture. I don't get into arguing the substance, arguing one side or the other. What I like to do is I like to point out the abuse of language, and I talk about, for instance, when to quit a conversation if the language gets so degraded that you can't exchange ideas anymore. It's it's like trying to eat pudding with chopsticks or something. You just can't do it. So yeah, I am not a YouTuber who talks about issues per se. Now, all that said, I want to talk about a certain Christian preacher. So there's this one of these big Christian preachers in America. You may not have heard of him, but he is big in his circles, and he's getting to be something of a celebrity. Oprah Winfrey interviewed him when she came back to doing interviews again on I guess Apple TV. He was one of the first guys that she interviewed, and he has founded some Christian Research and Policy Center at a university. He actually managed to get the funds and the attention for this, and he gives a lot of speeches, and he's written this best-selling book on Christianity and how if you are not on the true path as defined by him, if you don't go along with his version of Christianity, then you are perverse. You're simply perverse. And he goes on and on about combating perversion in America. And he's all about this evil of perversion and how, he's got all these stories and all these elaborate arguments. And the people that he is accusing of perversion are people who were, for the most part, just born a certain way. And he's getting all this money. One straight, white, male, cisgendered billionaire, millionaire, whatever, dumped $10 million on him, on his center at this university. And his book, yeah, I said his book is a bestseller because all these like-minded people, of course, don't want to be perverse or raise their children to be perverse. And his book has been sort of cut down into a little kiddie version, and his followers are trying to get it into American schools. Get those young minds, because we have this exploding mental health problem in America because people are diverging from the true path. And I have to admit, it gripes me a little that he changed his name. His actual name is something that's Eastern European and not really cool sounding, and he changed it to something that's really slick and rhymes, and it just sounds more preachery. It sounds more authentic, so he changed it. He faked it up, which is kind of funny and ironic because celebrities have left off that garbage. I mean, Emily Ratajkowski, she couldn't have used her real name 20 years ago. Everyone's embracing their identity and their heritage and their lineage now, but not this frickin' preacher. Now, I have to admit, I'm resistant to people like this anyway. And a little disclosure, I was born a certain way, and I think I'm one of his targets. But not too long ago, this guy provided the perfect language geek when to stop listening to someone lesson. He had given one of his sermons, this sermon is on YouTube, he had given one of these sermons on combating perversion as it exists in our entire society and in our hearts and all this, it's just all embracing and endangering us. And someone who was there asked him, it's on camera, someone who was there asked him, this is really important, can you actually define perversion for us? And his answer, I quote, "Perversion is an accumulation of perverse policies that lead to perverse behavior that are substantiated by perverse beliefs." This is all he could do? This, my friends, is the logical fallacy known as a tautology. Tauto meaning self, and logo meaning like words or study. That, in other words, that which has been said, that which has already been said. This fraud was asked to define the term that he has built a spiritual empire combating. And this was all he could say. It was basically perversion is perverseness, which is perverse. I might have been curious about this guy, about what he says, just because of his notoriety and because of the increasing influence he's getting. But I swear, I will not listen to one word that this clown says about perversion or the true path, or probably about anything at all, because of his just intellectual poverty. I mean, the sloppiness of his argument. He cannot define this most fundamental term. This is where you stop listening to someone. So, mask off, swap out Christian preacher for race scholar, and name the guy Ibram X. Kendi, formerly known as Henry Rogers, and the thing he has built an empire combating: racism.
So racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. Sure, a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. And anti-racism is pretty simple, using the same terms. Anti-racism is a collection of anti-racist policies leading to racial, anybody want to take a guess? Equity that are substantiated by anti-racist ideas.
This is where you stop listening to Ibram X. Kendi. The dude can't define his terms. With one parting admonition for this book-writing, sermonizing, condescending, money-raking fraud and his millions of followers. Get back to me when you know what you're talking about.